So I'm on a mission to figure out how I can sustain a career as an artist. So like I said in my last video, this is something that I've been doing for decades, on and off, semi-professionally I guess you could say. And I'm at a sort of crossroads where I need to kind of consider, is this something that I can do full-time and actually make a full-time living from? Or am I going to have to just replace it with something else entirely different? I mean, the idea is to just constantly be working on or towards art-related projects, but I appreciate that's not always the way it is. Even fairly well-established professional artists and illustrators tend to have a second job doing something else, and you know that's not an unusual occurrence these days. But is there a way to make this into a full-time thing? Now, I'm not the only person that wants to do this. I often go to comic conventions to sell my artwork, my fan art and stuff as prints, as you can see on the screen at the minute. And I talk to a lot of people, a lot of different artists at these shows, and they all kind of want the same thing. They're all trying to figure out how to make their passion of creating their arts and crafts and turning that into a real thing. I mean, some people seem to find it quite easy. They either have just the right kind of product, or they're just phenomenally good at what they do, so they've kind of got that fast track. But what happens when you're someone who is good but not maybe at that top 1% tier? I kind of, if I'm honest, I would put myself below the top tiers. I'm at a decent level, maybe in the top 30%, so good enough to have a career in this industry, but how exactly, and how given the level of skill? As I said previously, the easy way is just get really good, and then the work can just sell itself after that. But who is going to be able to get really good? Like, am I going to be able to do that? Because if we're talking about 1%, the 1% club who are really good, just so phenomenal that you can't stop but buy their artwork. Now, that might still be hundreds of thousands of people online that you could be competing with, but in the space of online, that's a lot of competition, like 100,000 people in that top 1%. So what can I do to compete with them? It's a bit of a mystery, really. And not only are you competing with them, but you're competing with AI now that can do pretty much everything they and you can do. There's some slight differences. People will say that, oh no, it's all AI rubbish, it's no good. It is good. The results have been pretty good now for a while, and it's killing businesses. It's slowly wiping out creatives' practices and stopping artists from doing what they used to do or wanted to do. I know that it's definitely taken a toll on my business. So I decided sort of around COVID time, just before, to start packing in the tattoo business. I used to work as a tattoo artist, again part-time. COVID happened. I realised, well, I don't want a job that's potentially going to be completely closed down due to another lockdown or something like that. So I thought, okay, let's try going a bit more online heavy. I wouldn't necessarily say just online exclusive is the way to go, but certainly it seemed like a good idea to maybe concentrate a little bit more on the print selling side of things, and that was something that I was doing even before COVID. So I was no stranger to putting my artwork on prints and selling them at events or online. I tried to ramp it up a little bit over the last few years, and that it was tough. Let's just put it like that. I mean, I'm still able to go to a show, and it's worth my time going, but it's one of those things where let's just say you've got 100 artists table at a convention. As always, you've got the 1% club. They're going to be making a lot of money. They're going to be selling all their stuff, taking most of the attention away from other sellers. Then you've probably got like the sort of the 30% club that are able to make it well worth their while, maybe in the top 50% club. But then you've got the lower ones, the sort of, I wouldn't say the lower ranking artists, but everyone's just doing different things. I guess you could say least successful in terms of sales. And they're going to be ones that are going to break even or maybe even make a loss. I used to be in that category for ages until I've kind of figured out a bit more of a formula. But now I'm at a point now where, due to AI, my sales have gone down by about 70% in the last year or two, which is significant. And it was never a point where I could just live off of art print sales online anyway. Shows seems to have taken a bit of a hit. I think I'm probably down, close to sort of 60 to 70% at shows even. So it's not just AI, because a lot of that stuff isn't allowed at shows, but I think it's just the general amount of competition is rising. Not only do you have prompters that can basically ask for a bit of artwork, and provided with it, they can then sell that on. But because the bar in general is so high and there's so much of it, the artists, or the actual artists, are trying to now compete. So they're kind of raising their standards, and everyone has to kind of fall in line. And it's getting tough. It's getting really tough. And I'm at a point, like I say, where I'm all right. You can see some of the bits I've been doing on the screen right now, and I'm happy enough with it. I'll probably look back at it in 5 years' time and hate it all and think, what was I thinking? I could do so much better now, because that's just the way it always goes with art. But it's trying to figure out, given where I am, where can I go? And this is a question I ask myself regularly. Every few years I stop and assess and think, am I going in the right direction? Am I doing what needs to be done to maximise my situation, given the situation? Because this is the trouble. Life isn't straightforward. You can look at the people at the very top of anything. Maybe just people that, I guess you could say, would have their shit together. They got their lives sorted out. Things are going okay for them. I think a lot of the time, and this isn't just from this isn't some bitter, resentful comment just because my life hasn't worked out perfectly, but to some degree, I've noticed with people, once they start building momentum, they just get more and more, and it gets easier. You would kind of think, everyone has an equal shot of succeeding in life, but sometimes if there's sort of struggle to begin with, things can get even worse. And other times when people get a few good opportunities early on, that can then escalate and spiral. I guess in my case it's been a bit of both, bit of a roller coaster, some ups, some downs, plenty of obstacles in the way, health issues and things. So it's trying to take that into account, because some people have a relatively easy ride of it. Maybe they don't have any severe disabilities or events in their life that completely blocks them from being able to do the things that they want to pursue, whereas others don't have that luxury. And it's not through any fault of their own, it's just they were dealt the cards that they were dealt, and well, we're all just trying to make the best of it. And I was thinking as well, like looking at the how to draw manga guides that I used to do, and I mentioned in my last video how, especially the first guide I ever did, this one's not too bad, but the first one I did, it had a far bigger reach than the later how to draw manga guides that I had produced. But the weird thing was, it was of a far inferior quality. I'll just admit that, and I'm luckily distanced enough away from it to be able to say that, because I think I did it in my early 20s. So, well, I'm now in my early 40s, so I think we can assume that, of course, I would be a better artist now. But yeah, so one point I mentioned in the previous video was this idea that it was good that it was crap. And again, I'm not trying to justify what I did. I'm not trying to say I made a mistake and it was good that I made a mistake. I mean, I didn't make a mistake. For me personally, there was an opportunity there, and I didn't shy away from it, and it was a good thing. But the good thing about it was, though, and I still kind of think this is true, is when you see a book that's not very good. I mean, firstly, you can criticise it and say it's not very good. Maybe you can even say, oh, I wasted my time or money on this. But really, if it comes to like a book, a film or a game, how much money have you wasted? Like films, books and games these days it's cheap. Entertainment is super cheap. It's, the price points tend to vary between free and, a few hours of wage, a typical person's wages or whatever to be able to afford it. It wasn't always this way. If you wanted just a small, if you wanted just a video, a VHS video or a DVD, you might have had to have spent £20. I'm talking in English pounds here, since I'm English. You can do the translation into your currency. But £20 for a DVD, £50 for a game. The other day I went onto Steam and I ordered a series of games. It was the Command and Conquer collection. So they're a sort of strategy, tactical war game series. Gamers will know exactly how good that series was, and so I wanted to sort of experience it again, sort of the games that I was playing back in my youth. So I bought the series of, I think it was about 9 games or something like that, and it cost me £7. It cost me less than, I think it was probably less than half the cost that I paid for the first game, and I didn't even buy the first game as soon as it came out. It was just, a year later the price dropped, and I thought, okay, I'll try this Command and Conquer game. Anyway, long story short, I've now bought the entire series of games. It's one of those things as well where, because there's just so much content, so many games, I can imagine most people would never get through the entire collection, let alone play it multiple times. Unfortunately, I don't think the online play is active anymore. I think the old servers are down, and I used to play quite a lot of, especially Red Alert 2 and Yuri's Revenge. Anyway, for people that don't know what the hell that is, it's just not going to make any sense, but I used to play a lot of the online games, but also just the standalone campaigns, single player were great. Enjoyed those. But yeah, my point is, entertainment's cheap. So can you really complain if you buy 9 games for £7 or £8 and they're a bit like they are? I played the first one, completed the first Command and Conquer, and then Red Alert, which was pretty much the sequel. And the quality is not good in these games. The graphics are poor, the controls are dated, the rest of it. And you will read the review saying, oh, I think they should have updated this, updated that. But look how much you're paying for it. And would people be willing to spend, 10 times the price if they were to update everything in game to make it at least a little bit easier and a little bit more user friendly in today's modern gaming market? I don't know. So yeah, firstly, I don't think that the money thing is an excuse. I mean, fair enough, you want to get value for money and you want to make sure you're not wasting your time, and you should read reviews and make informed decisions with any buying purchases, but you can't expect a lot for a small amount. So when it comes to the old books I did, if anyone ever sees them lying around, because I don't have any copies for sale or anything anymore, not of the old ones. I've got about 5 copies of the latest book I did, and once that's gone, it's gone. It'll probably be gone by the end of the year at the next after I bring them to the next show. But the early ones, yeah, if anyone's got a copy or sees a copy and thinks, yeah, okay, I'll give that a go, you're probably going to buy it for about a dollar or a pound or a euro or whatever, wherever you see it. So I don't expect a lot. And but what you could do is you could get a lot out of it, insofar as it's not good. You'll look at it and you might think, I could do this. And I've had people say it to me, I could write this book, I could do this project. And I'm sure there are far more competent artists than I was when I was 20 years old or whatever doing this book. And yeah, they could do it. They could do it a lot better. Firstly, I would say, well, go on then. I'm not stopping you. I mean, I think people will realise even a crap project, even a crap book or a crappy game or something, it still does require some work. And anyone who's, because I've always been an anime fan, obviously, and I used to want to be an animator at one point, and I, like most people, tried doing my own little animation, did a background and a rough 5 minutes of animation, just sort of zooming and panning in and sketching out a character or something, and then I realised this is tough. Even the low quality crappy animation that I was trying to produce was tough. So I think it's easy to say, oh, I could do that. But firstly, I would say, well, could you? I mean, if you did do it, you might be able to do it better. Sure, probably you'd be able to do it better than I could. But it still takes time and a commitment. So it's what it is. But what I will say as well, you know, and I kind of hinted upon this in the last video, there is something to be said for kind of it being exposed to crap art. Because, you know, not only can it give you that little ego boost of thinking, oh, I could, you know, I thought I was crap, but oh, this is even worse. Oh yeah, maybe I'm not so bad. Yeah, so firstly, it's facilitating someone's ego getting boosted a little bit, makes them feel good that they're looking at something that they could do better for. So there's one positive of you know, stuff being, I guess you could say, mediocre or less than perfect. But I think for some people it does inspire, because I think we're all supposed to, you know, there's the advice that if you want to improve and you want to get better, the rest of it, you need to hang around with mentors and people that are a higher level than you. And I'm sure that's true. You can level up quicker if you surround yourself with people who are doing stuff that you want to be able to one day do, but can't at the moment. But what happens when you're the sort of person who, you know, you're just starting out and whatever it is, you know, or you're just at a certain level and it might be less than everyone else's. Maybe you just don't have any talent in any particular area, but you want to at least not completely suck. You might suck a little bit, but even that would be better than how you might be at the moment. I think sometimes it's good to look at something that's not too far off your initial or sort of pay grade, that is within reach. Because I think these days there's so many high-end pros that are putting stuff out, and you look at it and it's like, wow, it's amazing, and you think, oh, teach me how to do this. But it doesn't really work like that. I mean, for some, maybe most people, that's fine. You know, they find whoever's best at the thing, and then they sort of become their disciple and try and learn from them. But I think the point is, it can be quite difficult if you're I don't know, maybe just you're just struggling, you're anxious, you're overwhelmed, you're looking at people's stuff. I mean, there are, like, you know, the very best artists in the world that would look at what I'm doing and think it's absolute dog shit, and there are the very worst in the world that would think I'm producing work like a god. And then you got people who, certainly when it comes to like the first book, The Art of Drawing Manga that I worked on, there's some dodgy artwork in there. But there's people who will look at that and think, okay, well, I'm too scared of that really high end stuff because that seems so far away from where I could ever get. But this stuff, this is kind of doable, and I can see that it's not quite perfect. I see there's a few errors, so maybe it's not so bad, you know, to make a few errors. You know, it just gives you a bit of an allowance to try and to fail. Sometimes it's good to see, you know, quote unquote pros fail, because it makes people realise that they're just human, just like everyone else, and I think it can give a little bit of kind of confidence to people that want to try something, but it just seems too far off. I mean, it's complicated. I mean, maybe this is a bit of a stretch. Maybe it is sort of somewhat of a justification for crappy stuff. And you could easily argue something like a how to draw book. If the anatomy examples in it aren't great, you're going to take on the bad habits of the person teaching and the rest of it. Fair enough. But when people want to learn to draw, it's going to be kids a lot of the time, especially kids that are going to want to buy a how to draw manga book. It's not going to be 30-year-olds that are already experienced artists buying this kind of stuff. So it's going to be people that just want a place to start. And once they kind of get that place to start, once they get that sort of inspiration or motivation, or feel like what they want to achieve is sort of within reach, then they'll no doubt buy another how to draw book or another course, or they'll probably go on to buying a Loomis or a Bridgman or some other kind of professional anatomy art book or something that's going to start getting down to the high end stuff. But to begin with, maybe it's good to just give a kid something quite relatable, or something that's not quite polished around the edges, or has a few issues. I'm not saying that is my argument and I'm going to die on that hill and that's how it is, but just presenting another side to it. So yeah, the more I started thinking about that, the more I felt a bit more confident about just being honest and being authentic and just saying, well, look, the stuff I used to do wasn't very good. And I feel a bit bad because there are some people that there are people who will sort of look up to some of like the early books that I did and think, yeah, this guy's great. I really appreciate what he did. He really helped me and the rest of it. And I kind of feel like I don't want to throw that back in their faces and say, actually, I lied to you. That wasn't great. I tricked you. I mean, I didn't try and trick anyone, but yeah, it's just every project that comes along, every year that goes by, people are going to improve, and there's no getting away from the sort of embarrassment of looking back at early work and thinking, wow, I actually used to think this was good. I was looking through some of my old artwork, I might show it in a bit, and I genuinely thought I was pretty good at what I did. Let me just bring it up. So this is artwork from like between 1999 and 2000. And I used to think this was great. So first bit of fan art. So this was a God, size of it as well. Dino Crisis. For anyone that used to play games back in the late 1990s, early 2000s, I think it was PlayStation 1 Dino Crisis. They'll probably end up remaking it within the next couple of years if they haven't already. I thought that was good. I thought, yeah, look at me. I am an anime artist. I mean, I wasn't really getting paid work at this point. Like I think I could probably get someone's, grandmother to give me a small fee for drawing a picture like this on a greetings card or something for their grandkids or something. But yeah, generally this wasn't professional work, but I did think this was good. I was like, wow, look at me, I actually did something that kind of sort of resembles an anime character. So I mean, I've got some weird stuff. There's this little, this is Motimon, I think it's a Digimon. Yeah, I mentioned in my old site geocities.com. We're talking 1999 2000 website there. But I'm like, okay, that was a Digimon. I don't even remember that character. Digimon was a series that I obviously watched over 20 years ago, and I can't really remember any of the characters in it. And then there was one like this, like a character. So I did this with coloured pencils and paints. This was a character I did. I remember being really proud of this guy. I thought, yeah, this could be like some kind of boss in a computer game, or a, I don't know, fighting beat 'em up game or something. I don't know. But yeah. So this was what I used to think was good. And it's kind of weird to think that that I thought I had a career in art at that stage. Funny thing is though, like, and I've noticed this when I've watched old artists from like the 70s and 80s that were doing a lot of sort of game and fantasy art back then. The bar was generally pretty low. There were a few artists that were more sort of almost classically trained, that were sort of having a go at the game art or whatever, or even comics to some degree. But yeah, the bar was pretty low, and now I feel like it's so much higher, and it's so much easier, like I say, to get a good education online and to get to a point where, like, the stuff I'm showing now, like, I was probably about 18 when I was doing this, whereas now you've got 18. Well, you got 8-year-olds that could probably do better. You certainly got, I don't know, like this. I mean, when you look at other artists' work, you know, we all went through a phase of doing stuff like this. Oh, let me just show you this because it's embarrassing. It's funny. Lara Croft, February 2000, 24 years ago. So there you go. Another one of my early bits of fan art, and I remember thinking, "Wow, look at me! I'm doing digital art. This is amazing." It was. I mean, even at the time, it was apparent to me that there was a few flaws with this image, but yeah, this was my artwork, and I thought it was good. Yeah, I don't know if you can see any of these thumbnails, but yeah, don't look too hard because some of them are pretty bad. Like Pie Neck, for example. He had a kind of pie crust sweatshirt thing going on. I don't know what that was, but I remember being really proud of this and thinking, wow, look at me, I'm drawing like anime characters. This is amazing. And like, he's got cool tattoos as well. He's a bit unique. Yeah, and I'm sure, you know, I'm sort of laughing internally, but I'm sure I will look back at what I'm doing now, if I were to continue, and probably think pretty similar. But at least for now, I kind of think like, no, I don't know. You know, the other day I was looking back at some of the old cover art for video boxes and game boxes from the early 90s, late 80s, and I always, as a kid, used to think, wow, I'd love to be able to draw stuff like this. This is amazing. It's kind of what made me get into this kind of stuff. A lot of those old covers, going down to the local video shop and checking out the horror films, sci-fi films, and yeah, I used to love all that stuff, or even the old retro games. I'm talking proper retro games. I mean, these days people think like a PlayStation 2 game is a retro game. I'm talking Atari ST and Amiga 500, or, you know, a Nintendo Entertainment System, maybe even a SNES. That's about as modern as I want to go with retro. A Famicom. But yeah, so I've lost my point. I mean, my point was that I wanted to draw like the kind of artwork I used to see back then, and some of it was okay, but I'm now at a point where it's like, yeah, okay, I've done it. I can do that. If you asked me to go away and draw, you know, a cover for a typical late 80s computer game, I could probably do it. I definitely could do it. So I'm like, yeah, okay, wow, that's great. I've reached my goal. Of course, the bar's gone up considerably since the sort of standards set back then, but hey, at least I got to where I wanted to get. So now it's trying to figure out, you know, given where I've come from, where I'm at now, you know, where do I go next? So this is the dilemma. But at least, like I say, there's some virtues to the fact that not being perfect or even being mediocre is good. You know, there's something good about that. Even these videos, like I'm not a good presenter. I don't have a good way about me. If you look at like the top, you know, videos where they have millions of views, you know, everyone's getting excited and going mental, and there's lots of quick cuts and edits and, you know, passion and expression and just doing crazy stuff. And whereas I'm a really self-conscious person, socially awkward, I find it really difficult to talk to people, especially if it's not about anything I know about. So for me, even just showing up is difficult. even just recording a video. So I don't. But then when I start to realise, well, I don't really mind that, because there's people that might look at this one day, like I say, I'll probably only get about 20 views, and you know, no one really care. Or I'll probably get, and even those views will be like, oh, okay, this guy's boring, next. But anyone that makes it this far there might be one of them, maybe not you, maybe someone will think, okay, this guy sucks. Like, he's really crap at presenting his YouTube videos. But that's good, because that makes me want to do it. There was a guy in a video, it's basically just, you're never too old to do YouTube videos, and it inspired me. And this guy, he had outtakes at the end where he would try and do his introduction, you know, hi, my name's Bob, and I want to talk to you today about starting a channel or whatever it was. And then he would do it again. He's like, hi, my mate. No, that's not right. Hi, my name's Bob, and no. And he did multiple takes at the end, and that was the best part of the whole video. This the outtake bit, not to laugh at him, but just to be thankful that he included that, because you see so much high-end polished stuff on the internet all the time, and I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I'm getting a bit jaded by it. I kind of want real people who aren't, you know, naturally, kind of have this natural, almost like media training personality where they know exactly the things to say, how to say it. Because I'm sure there are people who are as, maybe even more, this is saying socially inept as I am, and they can look at this and think, okay, well, he doesn't know what he's doing. But that's good, because I don't feel like so much of a failure now, because we can all just fail together. Yeah, it's just a different take. I think as well, another thing, I listen to a lot of sort of personal development audio books and podcasts, and you know, the rest of it. And there's something about the attitude you get in there where it's like, don't make excuses, you know, work harder, don't stop until you get there. There's all this kind of sort of strict discipline, reinforcement, you know, don't bitch and whine. And I mean, at the end of the day, maybe when you look at the results, it's like, okay, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at your results and you have whatever, you know, you've cultivated the communication skills, or the charisma, or the physique, or the skill in whatever thing you're doing. Okay, and you're saying, okay, I need to stop complaining and start getting on with things. Great, okay, that's fine, and I will do that. Don't get me wrong, I will go away and live life to the best of my ability. But I think for most people, it's not always that easy. I think there's a lot of people that, you know, they're just overwhelmed by just crap things in life, and it kind of rubs it in a little bit, where if you've got people around you that are constantly sort of overachieving and succeeding at everything they do, and you might then compare it against your own life and think, well, I don't have those things, and you can then start feeling pretty bad about yourself. And the trouble is, sometimes it's not easy. It's not as easy as just, okay, stop what you're doing and, you know, drop down and do 50 press-ups or whatever. It's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, you can do that, but some people just aren't, you know, these hyper obsessed personal development type, enthusiastic, super motivated, super disciplined personalities. And you can cultivate that and you can get towards that, sure. And I'm not even saying don't aspire to it. I mean, I listen to stuff like that because I'm interested in that kind of perspective and encouragement. I'm just saying that there's another side where, yeah, I mean, and I've discussed this idea with people before, and they've sort of disagreed with this. So I appreciate this is a controversial idea. But yeah, it is. And it is only an idea, and I'm not saying this is the only idea, the only way to do things. I'm not even saying this is a good idea, but I'm just saying this could be a good idea to maybe not necessarily seek out people who are worse than you, but seek out people who at least aren't completely killing it all the time. Because if the only people you surround yourself with are people who are constantly succeeding and you're not, you're going to think there's something wrong with you, or you're going to think, you're going to wonder why they're all doing it and you can't. But maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe there's just some kind of genetic personality trait that you can't really change that isn't allowing you to do what you need to do. But it's for you then to find workarounds to fix that and to sort of tweak your environment and your lifestyle in order just to make the best of the hand that you've been dealt. And everyone has to do that, and is what it is. But anyway, just I guess that's what the point of this video is. It's just stating that, you know, I used to suck, but I got better to some degree. But even in the sucking, you know, wasn't wasted time. And you know, there's always going to be tiers of ability, and you don't just have to be at the top. You can be somewhere between the bottom and the middle, and there's always going to be a few people that in fact will benefit from you being where you are compared to the top, because you're going to have a different perspective and a different thing going on, and you might just be able to inspire someone else to give it a go. It's a weird thing. Like I say, there's going to be other sort of professional artists that could potentially watch the video, just see some of the images that are going up on the screen, and they would think what I'm doing is quite poor, and give up the art. If you haven't made it by now, you're not going to make it. But then there's probably going to be people who think, well, what are you talking about? Your stuff's amazing. I don't know why you're saying that you suck, and it's good that you suck, because then you can give me it's inspiration. You're so good, you're so far out my league that I'll never catch up. I mean, there's probably a couple of people who maybe that is true. Like maybe you've been dealt such a crap hand that you could practice for a million years and you could never, reach a certain level. But as my earlier works showed, if you could just get to that level, by the time you're 20, and I don't think that's unreasonable these days, like given the standard. Like I've seen like I say 8-9-year-olds that can wipe the floor with what I was doing when I was sort of 18, 19 years old. So I mean, if you feel like I'm out of your league, then just get to the point where I was when I was 18, before you're 18, and know that if you keep plugging away at it, you can probably therefore then continue to get to a point where you can surpass what I do. But so it's always a weird thing just to finish. Like it's weird to think when you're trying to be a professional, or at least come across as a professional. I mean, normally when you write a letter or create a website, you try and come across a certain way. If you've got a website, you might even talk in as a, we can provide these services, we can provide that, trying to sound really professional rather than I can do this or I can do that. It's like, yeah, we're a team, we're professional. So you might describe yourself as a we, yeah, or you just, you always project a professional image, and that's fine, but it's weird as well sometimes when you might feel quite insecure about what you're doing, or you might want to be honest, and then you're kind of caught between these ideas of like, shall I be authentic or shall I be professional? Or sort of like put my best foot forward, concentrate on my strengths rather than my weaknesses. And I'm always at odds with that, because I want to talk about my weaknesses. I want to talk about all my insecurities, weaknesses, anxieties. But you're not supposed to do that as a professional. Like, I worked as a tattoo artist part-time for about 10 years. And even towards the end, I'd done hundreds and hundreds of tattoo sessions at this point. And I would come across quite well, People would, often be getting a tattoo, they'd be quite nervous and the rest of it. And I think most of the time, to be honest, I never admitted this at the time, but I was more nervous than they were. And I would always try and spend a little bit of my time reassuring, saying, "Oh, don't worry, you'll get used to the pain and the rest of it." And I would try and act a little bit upbeat and relaxed, and like it was no big deal. We're just doing this procedure; it's going to be fine. Don't worry, blah blah blah. And I remember quite a few times where I'd just say, "I'm just going to go to the toilet, and I just need to, wash my hands or whatever it is before we start." And then I would close the door, and I would sort of put water on my face and take deep breaths and have to like calm myself down, knowing that, in my mind I was performing, brain surgery. It was like life or death, and it's a big responsibility to permanently mark people's skin. And I've kind of now pretty much given up the tattoo. I can do it, and I got pretty good at it, but it was never really for me. Not because I couldn't do it, but I just didn't have the personality for it. I would worry about it so much, and maybe this is something I can talk a little bit more about next time, but. Yeah, I would really panic and worry about it, and it was stressful. It was massively stressful, and I'm sure I'm not the only tattoo artist that has gone through that. But I was going through that after 500 tattoo sessions. I was still having to like take a few deep breaths before starting, away from the client, because I didn't want the client to think that I was panicked about the prospect of tattooing, because it doesn't really give much confidence. So yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like, should you be honest and just say, look, I'm worried. I'm worried that I'm not going to make it, or I'm worried my artwork's not good enough, or if that's how you feel, or should you almost lie and try and just project this professional confidence of like, yeah, it's all going to work out? Because I think until this point in my career, I've always tried to project the confident, like, oh, I'm a professional, this is what I do, if you would like to commission me, that'd be great. That's, that kind of relaxed, yeah, here's what I do, and, if you need me, that's great, whatever. That kind of, what I'm trying to say is a more sort of confident, relaxed approach is fine, and that's still part of who I am and what I'm doing, but there's a lot of times where I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. And you're not supposed to say that. Professionals aren't supposed to say it. And I'm worried that if I start saying things like, I don't actually think I'm very good, like I don't want potential future clients to realise he doesn't know what he's doing, or he's not very confident. I can't trust this guy, because a lot of working with other people is just projecting confidence. If they trust you, they're fine, especially in the context of a tattoo studio. it works better for everyone if they think you're confident and you don't have a problem. It certainly works better for them, because they're then relaxed. They don't fidget. They don't panic. They don't keep scrutinizing everything you do. Because I don't know if anyone has felt, any artists that potentially watch this would agree, but there's something not very nice about being watched while you draw. So I especially remember that at school, drawing pictures of things and having other kids like leaning over my shoulder. What are you doing? What are you doing? Can I have a look? Can I have a look? And then they would just be breathing on the side of your neck or behind your neck, and it would be really off-putting. And I hated it. But then for some reason I thought, you know what? I want to become a tattoo artist so that I get to experience that every day at work. Yeah, I hated it. I hate when people look. As soon as I get the opportunity to do a back piece or something, I'm like, oh, thank God, because obviously I can put them on their front, and they can't watch me. But as soon as it's I don't know, a wrist tattoo or something, and then they're staring down and scrutinising everything, I get quite self-conscious. Okay, so, and for that reason, it was one of the reasons why I thought I shouldn't really be a tattoo artist. I shouldn't have even really started. I knew I didn't have the disposition for it, but I'm a bit stubborn, and if I think I can't do something, or if I think other people think I couldn't do it, then it makes me want to do it more. Like I've got something to prove, but certainly I had something to prove to myself, and I kind of thought, well, if someone like me who's, easily riled, easily anxious or whatever, can do something as kind of stress-inducing as tattooing another human being, I thought, well, there's not much left in the world to worry about then, is there? And to top it off, I worked in this tattoo shop at one point, and it wasn't the greatest tattoo shop ever. In fact, it was probably the worst tattoo shop. I'm wondering if it was probably the worst tattoo shop in the entire country. But yeah, I was working in this shop anyway. It wasn't in a great area, and I didn't. Yeah, the people who would come in were often just difficult. Let's just say, either completely strung out or just had issues, and it wasn't really the best environment. Not the sort of environment I was kind of used to. And again, I kind of thought, well, if I can, okay, this is probably one of the worst places local to me, that like locations that I could work. It's in one of the worst areas. This is the worst shop. If I can survive it here, I thought, again, I could survive anything. So I mean, I wasn't working there for very long. I don't know, 4 or 5 months, sort of part-time. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, did it for a bit, and it kind of taught me that, yeah, you can do it. I don't know, I was trying to teach myself a lesson. I don't know whether it was a lesson that was necessary, but I did it all the same. So yeah, sometimes obstacles are good. But yeah, I mean, I guess next video I'll try and discuss exactly what I've done up until this point in order to get to where I've got, as far as that is, and then where I'm going now. Like I say, I think the fact that I am now probably the only time in my life willing to admit to myself, other people, or anyone, that things aren't perfect and the art game is a lot harder than I would project. It's kind of like, it's a bit of a turning point. I feel like I've got nothing to lose. I'm really at a point where the sustaining this career as an artist, drawing pictures and creating artwork in some capacity, it's either got to work or I'm doing something else. So I've got nothing to lose anymore, and I'm at a point now where, yeah, if it doesn't look very professional for me to just rant on about whatever. You know, for me to not be very concise, for me to explain I'm not very confident, for me to admit that you'd probably be better off hiring someone else. I don't know, I'll let people just look at my work and be the judge of that. But yeah, it doesn't matter anymore, does it? Because if I'm at a point now where to carry on as I am is unsustainable, I might as well, you know, and I know that it's all gonna end. I might as well just bear all and just be honest. So yeah, there are things that need to be done, things that need to be discussed, and hopefully I will be able to sort of clear the air, make those assessments next time. So we'll see how it goes.